guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another predictions video. It is race week once again. We had a short break but we're back at it, and it is the Belgium Grand Prix this time round. I love Spa. It's one of my favourite tracks. It's honestly a lot of drivers they love Spa. I know Oscar and Max love Spa. So I feel like it always delivers. It's always a fun one to watch. So I'm very happy we're going into Spa. Also, it's another double header, so we go into Hungary after Spa, which is another one of my favourite tracks. So it's a great double header and I'm very excited. I don't really have much to say ahead of this race week, so let's just get straight into my predictions and hopefully they'll talk for themselves. So for pole, I've put Kimi Antonelli. I think it's always stupid to bet against Kimi Antonelli for pole. The only place I dared to do that was last week at Silverstone, where I put Lewis Hamilton and then Kimi Antonelli still managed to get main pole, even though Lewis got sprint, which was very impressive. But I think Kimi is just obviously fastest car, fastest driver at the moment. And obviously when you have that combination, you're going to get pole most weekends. And I think he's just proven that he's very good at qualifying. And if he has a chance of getting pole, he's going to get it. George is struggling with his qualifying at the moment. And even when he is like around about Kimi, he usually doesn't get above Kimi. So I would say it would be stupid to bet against Kimi for pole. And I know pole is kind of a bad position to be at the Belgian Grand Prix because you are likely to get overtaken. But I'm still gonna bet Kimi for P1. I still think he's gonna convert that pole into a win, just because he hasn't had a win in a couple of races now, but I wouldn't say through any fault of his own. Obviously he's had quite a few car issues lately, so I think he'll really want to return to the top step. As long as he hasn't lost any confidence, I feel like he's totally capable of returning to that top step and maybe starting another streak like the winning streak we saw earlier on in the season. I think George obviously will be quite happy with his podium at Silverstone, but I still think he was still quite negative after it because he still realises that Kimi was the faster driver. If Kimi didn't have issues with his car, he definitely would have beaten George. He probably would have won. Because I do believe he would have caught up with Charles. Sorry, my camera is wonky, so sorry if that annoyed anyone. Yeah, I think George still doesn't really have a grip on the car and how it works, because he wouldn't have finished on a podium if Kimi didn't have issues and if Max didn't crash as well. So I think he's still annoyed at how much difference there is between his and Kimi's pace, and he's still trying to figure that out, but I'm sure the frustration probably isn't helping his pace. So I would say that I think a Mercedes will win this weekend, and I think it will be Kimi. But I did say I think George will be P2. I just believe that at some point he's gonna get his head around the car. I feel like last season we saw Lando struggle with the car and not really like understand it or get along with it until kind of a mid-season point. I mean, he won at Silverstone last year, but that was kind of because of Max spinning and Oscar getting a penalty. But it was around this point of the season where he started to get a handle on the car. I remember he won at Hungary. And then he started to get a bit more of a handle on it after that. So I do expect George to, at one point, understand the car, or for developments of the car to kind of suit him a bit more, because I don't think the team is going to leave him completely in the dust. I don't believe it's like a Red Bull Max Verstappen situation. Let's hope it's not. So I do believe he will get a handle on the car at some point. So I am going to keep predicting him in high positions because I do believe there is a weekend he will just pop back up and be the George we know, and we're going to be like, oh, where have you been? I don't think this title fight is over, but I also would say I don't think it's over between the two Mercedes, but I also don't think it's over between Kimi and Lewis. I'm never sure where to predict Lewis because for Ferrari you can't really tell when it's going to, because they thought they were going to be super slow in Silverstone. Obviously Lewis ended up getting sprint pole, finishing P2 in the sprint, and then obviously Charles ended up winning the Grand Prix. So it's hard to predict where Ferrari are going to be, and also just how Lewis is going to perform weekend from weekend. So it's really hard to predict where to put him. But for P3, I have gone for Max Verstappen just because it's technically his home race. He loves it here. He does speak a lot about how he loves it here. And we just see that he puts in great performances on tracks that he really loves. Like we saw it in Austria. Obviously, he unfortunately crashed in Q3, but he ended up on the podium anyway, which was insane. Yeah, I do think that for certain tracks, you just know Max is going to do well, and I think this is one of them. If the car behaves, obviously, I think the crash in Silverstone was, I think I think Max wanted to change the car and start from a pit lane at Silverstone, and the team said no, you've qualified. I don't remember where he qualified. I think P7. So I don't really know why they did start from a pit lane, but and then obviously he had that crash like 5 laps from the end. So I think if the team listened to him and changed the car the way he wants, hopefully he'll be able to get a podium out of it. But we'll see. I feel like you can always expect Kimi on the podium unless there's a technical issue. But then after that, it's really hard to predict. We've had a good variety in podiums, I would say, this year. Because it's usually Kimi, but then we also have like George, Lewis, Max, Charles, Lando. Oscar's also been on the podium this year. So you got, and Isa technically, but then that was actually Pierre's podium. So it has been very varied, which just makes it hard to predict, but also more fun to watch. And then let's get into my surprise predictions. I love this track. I just don't know it well enough. I don't really know what to predict this weekend. I've gone for my Nico Hulkenberg gets his first point of the season because I said I would go for it until he does get them. And he obviously DNF'd in Silverstone last weekend. I don't know whether to stop doing it in case it's given him bad luck because I don't understand how he hasn't got any points yet. Especially because Gabby Bortoleto finished P8 last weekend as well, so it just seems like really bad luck for Nico. But I am going to keep putting it, and hopefully he'll get it this weekend. If he doesn't get it before the summer break, maybe I'll stop predicting that and see how he does after the summer break. I said that Oscar will outperform Lando and Charles will outperform Lewis. I think with the Oscar one, he just talks about how much he loves this track. I think Lando obviously loves this track as well because it's his mum's home Grand Prix. But I just think Oscar really loves this track. Oscar's like really fast around this track. I just feel like we haven't seen him outperform Lando in a while. I think it was Austria that he got finished in a better position than Lando, but it wasn't like an obvious him outperforming. I think it was just strategy calls and he was slightly faster. But I feel like most of the weekends we have seen Lando be faster, and we've also seen more impressive results from Lando, such as Miami, obviously, a win in the sprint race and P2 in the actual race, and then also Silverstone, a P3 in the sprint race and P4 in the actual race. Like, I feel like Lando is consistently getting results out of a McLaren car, which he shouldn't be getting. I feel like we haven't really been seeing that much from Oscar, but I feel like we could see that this weekend. And with Charles, obviously he hadn't won since the USA Grand Prix in 2024, and now he's obviously won Silverstone last race weekend. So I think that will definitely help his confidence, especially because he's not very good around Silverstone. Like the past 2 years before this year, he got P14, and obviously having a teammate like Lewis Hamilton around Silverstone is like the worst teammate to have, because Lewis is like magic around Silverstone. So to beat Lewis and to win the Grand Prix, I think that will really help his confidence. So yeah, I definitely think Charles, it will help Charles going into this weekend, because he loves this team, and I think getting a win with this team is just like everything he wants. And also he wants a WDC, but maybe one day. But yes, I said there'll be no reliability issues. This is just like kind of an insane prediction, because I'm not sure we've had a race yet where there was no reliability issues. But we are nearly halfway through the season. I would just like to see a race where it's decided pure pace, pure driving, instead of reliability issues. Like, I know Kimi having reliability issues for the past few races has brought George and Lewis back into the hunt. I think it's like a race win between Kimi and George now, but I'm actually not sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm kind of sick of seeing it, because like when you don't actually know, I want the drivers' championship to be won by the best driver, not because of like reliability issues and stuff. So yeah, that's why I put that. It's kind of wishful thinking. I maybe should have put no reliability issues in the like top 4 teams, but I've just put it like as a blanket statement. So the Cadillacs have been pretty good for reliability. I actually feel like the last couple of races, Mercedes and Williams have been the worst for reliability, which really does not look good for Mercedes. But I'm hoping all of the teams can just get it right this weekend. And then I said Ollie in Q3. I have no I don't have anything backing up this statement. I know he got into Q3 for at least sprint quali last year at the Belgium Grand Prix. I'm not sure about actual quali. But also the Haas car was a lot faster this time last season. Sometimes I just put surprise predictions down because I want to see it. Like, I think Ollie's an amazing driver, and I think the Haas car was pretty good at the start of the season, and we saw some amazing results from Ollie, and he was top 10 in the championship. Obviously we did have reliability issues in some of the like higher up teams, but still it was amazingly impressive, and everybody could see what a good driver he was. But now Haas has kind of like taken a lot of steps down, and we seem to be fighting with the Cadillacs, which is kind of insane. So I just want Ollie to be able to show what he can do. Because also it's hard to tell whether he's outperforming the car or whether he's just putting the car where it's supposed to be, because he's outperforming Esteban like pretty consistently. But it's hard to tell whether Esteban is just underperforming the car or Ollie's outperforming the car, and I feel like that would be easier to tell if the car was a bit better. But when they're fighting in the midfield, at the back of the field, people don't really care to figure it out. And then I said Racing Bulls will qualify in the top 5. I feel like this obviously requires a bit of a messy qualifying, because obviously we have the top 4 teams and they've been pretty comfortable qualifying in the top 8 all of the race weekends. So really the Racing Bulls should be getting like P9, P10 every race weekend, because I feel like they're definitely best of the rest. It was kind of between Alpine and Racing Bulls for best of the rest, but now I feel like it's definitely Racing Bulls. So yeah, but I feel like with a bit of a messy qualifying, maybe like a couple yellow flags, we could definitely get a Racing Bull in P5. I haven't specified who, because I think both of them could do it with a good lap and a bit of messiness with Q3. They're both great drivers, but yeah, I reckon it is possible we could see it, and it would be interesting to see. And I wonder how they would be, if they would be able to hold on to that position during the race. But also, I was at Silverstone and I saw like obviously they were running in the best of the rest positions, but there was a pretty big gap. Like Lando was kind of running by himself, but then there was still a big gap back to the racing bulls. So they are not really fighting with the top teams at all, but they're also not really fighting with the midfield. They're kind of just like by themselves. It's kind of like racing bulls are just fighting between themselves, and also Aston Martins are just fighting between themselves. So it's actually quite funny to watch. But those are my predictions for the Belgian Grand Prix Spa. I'm very excited. It's a race week, and let's see if Kimi can return to the top step. Let's see if George can do anything, or maybe Max. Let's see what the podium looks like, because honestly, I really struggle to predict nowadays because I have no idea what's going to happen. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.